Wow, it went live really quick this time. Welcome back to the Reason Reborn, episode 17. I am here with the now PlayStation 4 owning Cardiac Sumo. Say what's up to the people, Cardiac.
What's up, people? Technically, it's coming in tomorrow, but
I mean, you
I have
purchased
ordered
it.
it. Yes.
Money's been spent. Yeah, you can't take it back now. Well, you can, but
Good.
don't take it
But
back.
I definitely saw the money come out of my bank account, which didn't bother me because refund check. But I noticed it. So
Yeah, it stings a bit, don't it?
yeah, no fun.
But
it will be fun to play. Yeah,
exactly.
Probably gonna grab a Horizon or something first when it comes in tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because they have the whole complete edition too. That's like $40 now.
It's gonna be fucking sick.
Yeah, so enjoy that. That's a cool game. I need to finish that. I need to finish a lot of games.
Is that the kind of guy you are? You just like start a bunch of shit and you don't finish it? Come on, man.
That's what I've become. When I was younger, I used to like run through games, but now I really honestly feel like games are way too long. I'm on the opposite side. It's like where like it's funny because I always hear people talk about how games have more value. It's like no, games are much shorter, and we had replay value because our moms wasn't going to buy us another goddamn game for a couple of months. So you better get all you can out of that damn game. So I always feel like that's a like big misnomer about today versus back in the day.
Maybe those types of people aren't playing through the full game. Like if it's more open world style, maybe they only play through the main shit. Like I was playing Mass Effect, and I can't remember why, but I was rushing. But I'm a completionist, so I had to play every bit of it, and it took quite a while. I mean,
yeah, like I'm still playing Final Fantasy 15. I'm on chapter 9, and I've played 80 hours of that game. That's not good.
Yeah, if you're not getting value out of these games, you're probably just not playing them right. That's.
But no, I don't mind. Like if it's a 6-hour campaign, I'm actually happy because I could actually finish and complete something. As long as it's good, that's my whole thing. As long as it's good and I enjoy it, I'm not gonna like sit here and say I didn't get my $60 worth because I did. I actually enjoyed myself.
That's all good. I'm just saying,
But yeah, I understand.
Who say that about even those larger games where it's like there's no way you didn't feel like there was enough to play here unless you just didn't play. I'm sorry.
Like, yeah, no.
There's almost too much. It's a challenge.
Yeah, no, and see with RPGs like Horizon, that's my problem. That and Final Fantasy, when I play RPGs, I am that guy who wants to poke around and peek around and try to do all the side missions and get the lore and all this blah blah blah. It's like
if you can talk to NPCs, I talk to every NPC possible throughout the entire world. Like, I want to know what everything's going on. Like I actually read all the shit that comes up. Like if you're playing Mass Effect, and you see these like little notes in the world. I read them all the way through because some of them are really awesome stories.
Yeah, no, and that's how I get. That's why I kind of don't complete games because I buy a bunch of games that are like that. Like I have Persona 5, Final Fantasy 15, Horizon, Mass Effect. It's like all these games lend to there's no really just move on to the next spot. You can stop and like right now, I know I'm going to be spending a bunch of time now that I'm in a new city in Final Fantasy 15. It's like, good Lord, how many more hours am I going to play? I'm halfway through the game only.
So. Your problem is you still have a job. What you should have did was quit your job.
That too. If I honestly, if I could honestly be like a professional gamer, I would.
You're wasted too much time being an adult and shit.
No, between my job and education, what the fuck am I doing? I'm fucking up. Fucking up all around.
But maybe that was a bit too much of a tangent there.
It's cool. We're gonna have more tangents like this now that you have a PS4. Because Lord knows, once you start discovering some of the games that I've already played, yeah, we're gonna be having lots of tangents in this. So let's just go ahead and start off with Donald Trump. Let's get the bad stuff out the way first. We'll go to the bad, and then we'll go to the good, and then we'll go to the awesome. So Donald Trump,
I love how Donald Trump is just the bad stuff, and nobody's even gonna question you when you said that. Like, let's start with the bad stuff. Everybody probably knows already that you mean Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly. Because that guy's a fucking clown. He's had a interesting time since the last time we did the podcast. From his immediate statements about the shooting, blaming the FBI for not following on the investigation because they're so focused on Russia. Going to the school for a photo op where he stayed for 15 minutes, I think they said, and left after he got his photos. His whole like going back and forth with different senators and stuff like that over the Russian thing, as well as the whole gun control and how mental health is the issue. And of course, today we find out that he's trying to issue a ban on any accessory that can augment a weapon into an automatic weapon, which like the bump stocks things and such and so on. How do you rate his reaction to this whole situation?
I mean, it's about as intelligent as all his reactions to anything, isn't it? Not even intelligent. It's thematically consistent. So anytime something like this happens, he always manages to bring it back to himself. We had a bunch of kids die, and all he could talk about is all he wants to do is attack the FBI, continuing this war with them. I mean, I just never truly get the sense that he's really in tune with what people are saying. People bring up that Obama era regulation that he kind of obliterated as being part of the issue causing this. Not talking about it, not talking about proper gun control. I don't know. There's nothing interesting about his response. It's a typical Trumpian response to this type of shit. Let's blame everybody else for problems. Let's not really try to solve them and get our photo ops out of it. It's all good shit.
Yeah. It's funny too, because I just sent an article on Twitter that I forgot to send earlier today that I read, and I was kind of pissed at seeing that. So there's sources that are saying that there are many in the White House that looked at the Florida shooting as a reprieve from all the conversation going around them as far as Russia and, stock market and other like transgressions that they have going on. And when I saw that, I was like, that's pathetic and that's disgusting. That there are people who are looking at this as an opportunity to dodge a bullet or to at least hide away from all the controversies and mishaps and missteps and issues that have been caused by this administration. It's like, how is a bunch of kids getting murdered a moment of relief for you? How do you even think to even utter such words, let alone think them?
I had heard that idea thrown around. I didn't read into any of the details yet, so I didn't know if people were actively saying like, yes, finally something to get us off of this, or if they were just noting that it felt like a reprieve. I haven't read the article you sent, so I didn't know the details, but I saw that and I was a little disgusted. But if what they meant was just they feel like there's been less pressure lately, I can kind of see that because they live in a world of minute by minute scandal.
Yeah, because the article was mentioning how like there was supposed to be a press conference by Kelly on Wednesday, John Kelly on Wednesday, to discuss the whole issue with the domestic abuse and Rob Porter and all that and try to clear that up. But they, of course, canceled that in light of the,
and
tragedy.
Celebrating the fact that they had to cancel it, or?
Well, and that's the thing they were saying. A lot of people felt like, okay, this is like, we don't have to worry about this right now. Like, one of the comments was a lot of people here felt like it was a reprieve from 7 or 8 days of just getting pummeled.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that. I guess what I was trying to figure out was, were they excited about it, or were they just noting that feeling? Like did somebody just, were they just noticing that, you know, it feels like we've been taking a lot of shit lately, and then all of a sudden it's gone. Oh, it must be because of the shooting. I don't know.
No, because I mean, it just goes on to further say, like, they know, like, once it dies down, the chaos is going to come back. They know it's not like, okay,
so they're
this is
somewhat actively happy that the pressure is off because of this.
They know that it's going to get back, and they're going to have to deal with all the stuff that they have to deal with. But yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I didn't know the details of that. But when I first saw that idea floating around, I found it incredibly depressing, because I could as dark as it is, I could almost, when I say I could understand it, I don't mean that it's
I don't think you're empathizing with it. No. I think that you just
I can see the situation as it is. It's nonstop scandal for them. They're kicking it in the ass hard nowadays. Like, not even nowadays, since the election and onward. I mean, being in that White House must feel like being in a war zone. It's like shit coming at you from all angles all the time. I can see how even something as awful as that, giving you like a 5-second break, as bad as it is to say, I can see how it would feel like, fuck, finally, just 5 minutes, holy shit.
Yeah, because the article goes on to mention, I forgot that happened. It's funny because I was so focused on the Florida thing, I didn't know this happened. Apparently, they were going on about how, you know, they know things are going to come back up because they know there's still distractions out there, like Omarosa and her being on Celebrity Big Brother, and apparently that former porn star apparently is getting on a tour to make the person coast to coast, because her lawyer is arguing that once Michael Cohen came out and said what he said about how he paid them, he broke their non-disclosure by publicly acknowledging it. So the argument is, legally, she's free to talk about whatever she wants since he broke the non-disclosure himself.
I heard that. I heard there was some argument about that, but if he did, that's...
I mean, but he did come out publicly and say, I paid the money.
I mean, yes, if I can see how that would break an NDA, but it just goes further to the point. Like, why did he bother to make this fucking statement? I mean, I'm sure he had some.
Oh my God, there's a sign actually. You need to scroll down towards the bottom of the article to see the sign for her appearance. It's at a strip club, and it says Stormy Daniels making America horny again, April 13th and 14th. My God, this is the world we live in, people. Porn stars touring to tell stories about the president.
And none of it's all that surprising, is it?
No, it just feels way too natural nowadays, and that's the saddest thing in the world.
What's that fucking... I can't remember his name. The old white dude on MSNBC or whatever. I caught some clip of him, and he was like going back to the Obama presidency, talking about shit that used to be a scandal, and he showed like the picture of Obama with his foot on the desk and Obama wearing that like light brown suit. And he's like, remember when this was a scandal, and now we're talking about porn stars and the president, and nobody cares.
No, nobody does. It's not even like some JFK type thing where it's like the rumor mill is circling around the Marilyn Monroe thing, and then later on people try to break it down. No, this is like alive in full frontal color to all of us. It's, oh man, it's a trip. it's a trip. So, well, at least he is trying something, I guess. I don't know how that bump stop thing is gonna go. But
I mean, it's just dancing around the issue like they always do, just finding any reason. You know, it's the same thing as saying it's mental health, it's this part of the gun, it's that part of the gun. It's anything to avoid just not allowing those guns to be sold to certain people. if at all, because I mean, I still haven't heard a convincing argument for having an AR-15 as a civilian. But
yeah.
And we need to talk about how fearful. I mean, in Trump's case, he's just an asshole, but the regular politician, like how fearful they are of that NRA crowd. And they're right to be fearful because they can fuck up their election chances. I mean, and the NRA has way too much political influence in general. They are really powerful. I don't think people understand just how much influence they have, how much money they spend, putting their guys over. I mean, they have way too much political power for who they are supposed to be. Too much influence on our politics in general.
Yeah, it's funny because I also saw a story where the governor, it's the mayor of Dallas. He was like, I don't want the NRA doing their convention here anymore. And I was like, that's a bold move to do, sir. Especially in Texas, of all places.
Because I can understand why some of them kind of back down on that, because you don't want the NRA problem on your ass. It's no fun as a politician. It does get in the way of you doing some work. So as much shit as I want to give a lot of these politicians, I think it's fair that we take a step back, and if we didn't allow the NRA to have so much influence, maybe they wouldn't have to worry so much about that. We can shit on these politicians all we want, but some of them are in kind of a rough position there.
Yeah. No. But I kind of don't sympathize for them. Some of them, most of them actually, because I think we've gone far enough into, our history to know that guns aren't as popular as they were years ago. Having a gun doesn't make sense as much as it did in certain periods. So you could make the argument that they're just kind of dragging behind on the times with how to treat guns, because I mean, the money is there, the money is plentiful, it's helpful. And the NRA is not going to fall apart if there's gun regulation. Let's be honest. People aren't going to be able to not get their hands on a gun if there's more strict, gun laws, because I don't think we're ever going to see a future where they're going to completely ban guns. It would take something revolutionary on the scale of another major civil war, probably, or like some world war that changes the dynamics of the way things and everybody comes together and agrees just fuck guns, period, or something like that. It's not going to be. It's.
I can barely imagine that, because that would require going at the Second Amendment, which is.
Yeah, which is like the most holy of holiest to people.
It shouldn't be impossible. One of the good things about our politics in theory is that we can change that shit as time marches forward and we understand things better. But that's largely in theory. A lot of people treat the Constitution like it's the Bible, like it shouldn't change at all.
Right.
And you should be a little hesitant to change it, but I would say it's about as possible as you could get to change it at this point. It's fossilized into an object of reverence. It's not really something people think about changing that often.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation, but I mean,
I'm not necessarily saying we should change it, but I do agree that we are in a different world as far as the need for guns, and as far as popularity, even. I think it is the case that a lot of people who have guns probably have more than one, it wasn't always like that. That having a multitude of guns seems to be fairly fashionable among a certain crowd of people. It's not practical, but I do think it's less popular, but I think that's being counteracted by the fact that those people who still have guns buy more of them than they used to.
Yeah. Yeah, I never got the gun collecting thing, like I said in the last podcast. Like, geez, how many times you gotta shoot somebody before they're dead? But hey, it is what it is. Moving on to the bright spot of the news. Goddamn Mueller. That man is a fucking machine. Like, it's been what? What was the last big thing before the indictment of the Russians last week? It had been a little bit before there was something big brewing, wasn't it?
I can't remember the last person he maybe it was when he was talking to Bannon or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Bannon might have. That's been a while, but then you start to hear the rumblings. Oh, he's interested in Jared Kushner now, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of Russians in jail, and now there's a lawyer who lied about Robert Gates' like influence in the thing, who pled guilty. By the way, this lawyer didn't just get like indicted; he pled guilty, which means that he's working with Robert Mueller on this.
It's the pure number of people, like the number of bodies this motherfucker's laying down. Like, I mean, first of all, it says something terrible about the state of the White House, but this guy is out of, he's not going to stop until he's arrested half the country. This shit is crazy.
Yes, because I've also heard like the talks with Bannon were like, what, 3 days worth of conversations, something like that. Like Brandon's had extensive hours speaking with Robert Mueller, so we know what he's doing. He's fucking setting the stage, and he's corroborating everything, which is why we're starting to see these like big chunks of like, evidence and huge amounts of people getting picked out of nowhere. Like, I didn't know who this lawyer was. Like, where the fuck this lawyer comes from? And all of a sudden, he's like front page news. Like, the fuck? This dude is just like finding everybody. I didn't know about the Russians. Like, who thought about the Russians? Like, we always said Russians were involved. Russians were involved. Did we really think that he was going to arrest Russians?
So, in a world where information is getting out all the time, this motherfucker just keeps it under wraps every time. Like, every time he does this, nobody has any forewarning that he's gonna do this shit. It just comes out on the news one day and it's like, holy shit, we got this guy. What the fuck?
Yeah, like people, like with the Bannon thing, people think they know what's going on when they're like, oh, well, you heard Banning's possibly been talking. It's like, I think he's just feeding you what he really wants you to hear. So like he could just come and like bam, here you go. This right here though. And it's just like a shock to the system because you know that he's doing it. Everybody's trying their hardest to wish this into existence where Trump gets taken out by this thing. But it's like when even with all that, you hear what he's doing and you're like, oh, damn. Like you're shocked. It's like you shouldn't be shocked because everybody's thinking the same thing. Trump did something, but you're shocked because it's like the level of like information and news and pickups that he's getting is just like insane. Like this guy was sitting there. He knows everything that dude said. He knows what one of the money men has been doing.
I need to know what the fuck Trump did now. Because at first, when we were talking about this like a year or so ago, I was like, well, we don't know whether he actively did something or not. And it's not really, it matters, but it's not the point. The point is Russia is fucking with us. Now it's like he has to be doing something because he's trying very hard to discredit this thing. And there's no reason to try that hard unless you have some kind of problem. If this all ends and we find out that there is no collusion, I'm going to be really confused as to why he's trying this hard to derail this fucking thing. Is it just his ego? It's that big?
Yeah, like it can't be just the ego hates bad press because shit, like why? It was not that serious because just like I just forgot, like Gates is about to plead now. So because that's right, he did plead not guilty. Now he's flipping. He's about to plead. Holy shit! Like, see, just like stuff like that. What the fuck?
And this guy, and again, no forewarning. We know when he's ready to let us know, I guess.
Yeah, like why he isn't the head of FBI anymore. Maybe he got tired of doing the job, and the politics behind it. But shit, I need him to be the head of Department of Justice, not just fucking head of FBI. He needs to be the DOJ.
This seems fucking scary because
yeah,
this is kind of like if you're doing anything wrong right now, you should just stop and just say out loud, "I'm sorry, I won't do it again." And you'll hear his voice whisper in the back, "Good."
Exactly. And you just look up in the sky and like, okay, damn it. Yeah, no.
Scary shit.
He's a juggernaut. He's a machine. Yeah, I want to grow up to be Robert Mueller. I definitely do. All right, so now that we got the political stuff out the way, the major political stuff, because again, in this administration, there's always something. There always will be something to come out. Mark my word.
I don't know if we mentioned it last time, but Trump does seem to at least acknowledge the Russians did some shit nowadays, which is kind of new for him.
Yeah, and not only that, he's still trying to blame Obama. And it's like,
I mean, baby steps though.
On
baby steps until like this last couple of weeks, he still didn't even acknowledge anything happened. So progress, I guess.
I guess. I don't know. Like, dude, I just can't wait till the day like Mueller's on his doorstep with the indictment papers. I just want to see what the fuck he's gonna do.
Yo, this whataboutism shit is out of control. When you say something to these people and they're just like, well, what about Obama? He didn't blah blah blah. And it's never appropriate because even in this case, what about Obama? He wasn't tough enough on Russia. But people are criticizing him about not being tough enough on Russia. It's not like
he's been criticized his whole presidency of that.
Yeah, it's not like there's some extreme bias. Like, yeah, we're not going to shit on Obama for this. When we found out that his administration knew and didn't, at least in our eyes, tell us enough. Plenty of people who shit on you have been shitting on him for not being hard enough on Russia. So what are you talking about?
Yeah, and the thing with the hard enough of him not being hard enough is his excuse or reason, whatever you want to call it, actually makes sense in comparison to some of the shit that Trump's thrown out. Because he said he could have done it. He wanted to do it, but he looked at the lay of the land and he knew that with all the stuff that's coming, like in this campaign, if he were to throw that out there, it would have looked like he was trying to tip the balance. And he didn't want to like be accused of trying to do his own meddling in the election, even though he wanted to just come out and say, yo, Russians are fucking really doing something for real, not just hinting around it.
I mean,
which makes sense, especially for him, someone who takes blame for everything Obama did. It's like blame the black president. If he would have said that, then it would have been Trump would have did what he's done. Just like the thing with Comey. He loved Comey to death so long as all Comey cared about was looking into Hillary's shit. But once Comey found that there was some shit on him too, James Comey was the worst FBI director ever. He's horrible at his job. He doesn't know what he was doing. Everything like that. It's like he would have flipped. And it would have been the same thing. He would have just went and railed on Obama for doing that. He would have railed on the Democrats for doing that. And he would have used that to help propel him even more. Because everybody would have said, oh, you're just trying to keep out our candidate, our president, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. I mean, you can argue about whether Obama should have been tougher in that situation on them. But like you said, his reasoning, whether you agree with it or not, it's not like it was an insane reason. Like I'm a little on the fence as to how much tougher I thought he should have been, but I don't think his reasoning was stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, whether I agree with it or not, it was fairly sound reasoning, especially then because Trump's supporters are a group of people who feel like they're the most aggrieved people in America. They feel like they're being attacked all the time. Like there's this this strong liberal media bias against them that's controlling, all of media, all of culture, some of the laws and shit. They feel like they're targeted all the time. And if Obama came out and did that, who knows what the fuck would have happened? Back then, I don't know if people remember this, but back then when we thought Hillary was going to win, we were talking about, what are Trump supporters going to do when Trump loses? Are they going to fucking riot? Like, what's going to happen? That was a serious concern as to what their reaction was going to be, especially when you had Trump saying that he might not accept a loss. We didn't know what the fuck that meant at the time. Yeah. But yeah, I think people forget just how there was an element of danger there as far as our social fabric was going on that I don't think people remember. So it was not unreasonable to say, I'm not going to pour gas on this fire that I see burning.
Yeah, no. You have to. He made a judgment call. It may not have been the best, but shit. At least he used some practicality and thought to it.
Yes. But, to the point, why bring up this whole what about Obama shit? Every time people say, what about Obama? You didn't blame him for XYZ. That's always wrong. We always went after him for XYZ every fucking time. Every example people use about this type of shit. What about Obama? He, bombed shit in the Middle East. He sent out drones and shit. Yes. And people were mad about that. What are you talking about? What about Obama? He was hard on immigration and shit. Yes. And there were a lot of people mad at him for that back then. People called him like, what was it, deporter in chief or some shit? I can't remember what the fucking thing was. We went after him all the time for everything. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's sad.
This notion that there was this extreme bias in his favor is just not true.
No, I mean, do people truly love him? Yes. I mean, because even when you disagree with him, he would at least have a conversation with you, and you would at least come to even if you didn't come to agreement, you came to some consensus, and you could respect a person who was willing to do that. You don't get that now. Now it's just fucking. It's the rambling of a fucking 4-year-old. I don't know. I really don't know.
But I just want that reflex people have, this what about XYZ shit to go away. Because first of all, it's just not true most of the time when they say it. And second, it's logically not defensible. Let's say Obama did do something wrong. That is a separate issue that we can talk about if you want, but that's a separate issue from what's happening now. These are independent of each other.
All right.
Whether he did something wrong or not does not determine whether Trump is doing something wrong or not right now. So,
yeah, because what you're doing is you're trying to validate a wrong with the wrong. Like, well, Obama fucked up. Why can't he fuck? It doesn't work that way. Nah. But it is what it is. Young people like to do that. Now, let's really piss off Trump supporters by talking about the Black Panther. So, all right. Prefaces, I'm saying this now. I'm going to say it a couple of times so it sinks in people's heads. So you cannot, I repeat, cannot say that you were not warned. We are about a half an hour into the show. So if you just came for the political stuff, cool. We're actually going to get into some social and political stuff with the Black Panther, but at the same time, I can understand you don't want to listen to this because we will spoil this movie. We are not holding back. We are not saving any of our thoughts on the movie itself, as well as our interpretations of certain things in the movie. So if you don't want to hear that, you don't want to hear any opinions, anything like that, leave now. Again, we're about to discuss the Black Panther movie, which was an excellent movie. Love that movie. When you see the title, you can see basically how much I love the movie. But seriously, don't listen to this beyond this point because you're going to be pissed if you have not seen the Black Panther. So take a couple of days, take a couple of weeks, whatever it takes you to go see the Black Panther. See it, and then you can come back to this episode and you can hear our opinions on it if you want to. But just saying it right now, Do not listen beyond this point, okay? Okay? Turn it off now. Don't do it. Don't you do it, because you do it, you're going to be mad. All right, I warned you.
I regret not buying a Black Panther shirt for this episode of the podcast.
And you know, I was going to put on my Black Panther shirt, but I came straight home for it because I had to make a couple of stops first. And I was like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do the show. Because I do have my Black Panther shirt in the closet right now. And awesome.
I have a black superhero of some kind. But
yeah, Miles.
Yeah, count it. Half black. Boom.
Exactly. Yeah. But okay, so
spoilers.
Go first on how you felt, like how you felt about the movie. What was your opinion of the movie?
The movie sucked, bruh. I mean, CGI was garbage. Too many black people.
Couldn't even get that out with a straight face there.
All right. It was pretty well done. I liked. How should I put this? I get a little fatigued when we have like these super massive events where it's like world-ending stuff, like we see with the Avengers movies. What we're going to see with Age of Ultron, which is going to be sick. I like that this was a little bit more contained. I wouldn't say it's like a street level thing, but there's different levels to how crazy shit can get, and I think this was right where it needed to be. I love that the movie. It could have gone a little deeper, maybe it will in a later movie, but I like that it really touched on the culture in Wakanda. It helped kind of build the world of Wakanda for people who aren't aware of it, because you know in Marvel comics, even Wakanda is it's just an isolated nation, so a lot of people don't see it very much. A lot of the comics you see are based in America, so you don't get that much time in Wakanda unless you're just reading Black Panther comics. But they have a very interesting, rich culture in there in the comics, especially if you read what's that dude's name? Whoever was writing it last year, Ta-Nehisi Coates, I think. His run. Wakanda, it has something unique in the Marvel universe. It has a culture, it has a feeling, it has a people, which you just don't see with any other superhero line for the most part. For the most part, they're all just Americans that blow shit up, which is awesome, but they're always kind of lacking in something. I think the Thor comics are the only other thing I can think of that kind of come close to me for that. So I like that we got a new environment, a new feeling that was different than all the other movies we've seen so far. It's like when we went off into space for the first time with the Guardians. You know, that kind of expanded the Marvel universe for us when the Guardians took us into space and shit. We got to see all the off-world shit because Marvel Comics has a great cosmology built up behind them, and we got to see some of that there. I think Wakanda did a similar thing for us on Earth, so I think that was great. I'm gonna let you jump in because I'm just gonna ramble forever.
Oh no, I understand. Because I mean, a lot of the points that you made are probably the points that I look to. Because, like your point about how most of the superheroes just are like in America blowing shit up and all of that. Yeah. For the most part, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we've had just characters who existed in our world. Whereas Black Panther, yeah, he exists in our world, but they took you to his world, his nation, his culture, and they painted this, you know, this whole lore and mystique around the nation of Wakanda, which I thought was really, really excellent. To see what it would be like from the eyes of a country that has isolated themselves, has had this advanced technology, but is fearful of the world, even with the technology, in a way, because they don't want to, you know, possibly let the technology get into the wrong hands, as well as just the natural, like, we've lived in peace together and we've looked at the outside world and we've seen all the stuff that they did, and we don't want to be a part of that, you know, all the shenanigans that they're going on. So we're just going to keep to our own and take care of our own. And yeah, Thor is another one where you kind of get that, because Thor, they definitely do, especially with the one that nobody likes, which is the second Thor. They definitely did just sit itself within the world of Midgar, you know. So Yeah, I really, and it's funny because that's probably why I like the Thor movies better than most people do. Because it's not just, I mean, seriously, I do enjoy the Thor movies because, like, yeah, they're not the greatest if you want to talk about writing or structure, but
Uh,
that world is pretty damn neat, and it's a change from just global hopping to stop the next big threat. You know what I mean?
yeah, I go into those expecting fun, but I definitely know what you mean. Because when you said the second Thor that nobody likes, I thought you were referring to Jane Foster Thor in the comics. Because I get the same feeling when I'm reading her stuff. She goes to Asgard and all these different like godly places, and it's outside of all that America shit, and it just expands again, like just like Guardians does with the cosmology. It just expands the Marvel universe. You get to see completely different cultures, completely different uh, kinds of characters. Like I remember there's this one story arc, because she's acting as Thor, God of Thunder, and she met other gods, and she had to. How should I put this? It was like a contest of gods, and it was stuff like, how many worshippers can you get? How many prayers can you answer? Shit like that. It was a story told from a vantage point that you don't normally see. With Thor, it's the vantage point of a god. With Black Panther, it's the vantage point of a king. I think that's one of the really intriguing things about his characters. He's not just a superhero; he is a monarch of a very powerful country, and those things don't always coincide. There's some conflicts there. It makes for a deep character, which I think is interesting because I don't know about a lot of people, but I did not grow up giving a shit about Black Panther. I only started reading comics like a little over a year ago, maybe two now. I grew up on all those like superhero cartoons and shit, but I never actually read comics until like a couple years ago. And I found myself surprised at how interested I was in Black Panther because when I grew up, he was just like, well, he's some dude. He wears black. He runs around. I don't know anything about him. Whatever. Fuck that guy. But as you learn about his character, you see that he has a unique place in the Marvel universe. I think it's pretty special. I'm glad we're finally getting to see it and have even more people introduced to it.
Yeah, and like if you just want to take it from a movie only perspective, not as a Marvel movie or a comic book movie or anything like that, it's really well directed, really well casted. Ryan Coogler is a fucking like beast. Like this dude he upsets me, honestly. I hate you, Ryan Coogler. 31 years old, has done 3 films, has his 4th is almost done now. Out of his 3 films, all of them celebrated. Fucking Fruitvale Station, fucking Creed, a movie that nobody thought would be as good as it was. But Creed is a damn good movie. And now this, it is being called the best Marvel movie ever. And this dude is just 31 and he's just starting his directing career. He makes me mad because he's about to blow the fuck up all over the place and make the most amazing movies and make Steven Spielberg cry because he couldn't gain that success. Like he's like catch lightning in the bottle with everything he's done so far. Like Steven Spielberg is an amazing director, but god damn it, Ryan Coogler.
So before we go on, do you think it's the best Marvel movie so far?
Yeah, and it's funny because I was listening to a bunch of people have a conversation about it, and a lot of them in the group were like, for them, it was Winter Soldier. But now they're saying this is, and the points that they made kind of were like the points that I was making about Coogler himself, as far as like how he's casted it, how he's, directed it, the writing I thought was really, really well. They did, although I will say this, Black Panther had an advantage over just about every other Marvel movie in that, and it's funny because I feel like that's one of the strengths of Thor too. Outside of like Thor and Black Panther, all the other Marvel movies tend to kind of exist to push us towards Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Ant-Man 2 can be put in that category. Whereas it was like Iron Man it was to set off the first like run of like leading up to the Avengers. It was, they made sure to have that connection. And then you got to, what was the next movie? Was it Thor? Thor was the next one, right?
First Captain America, was it? No, maybe it was Thor.
Yeah, I think Thor was the next one. And I will say this, out of all the Thor movies, that one did the most to make you buy, because they had, Hawkeye, and they had Coulter and all of that to try to make it another movie to segue into what they were further going on. It's like each of those had some strong tie to the continuity that they were trying to build. Whereas this, it didn't have to exist. I thought, like, in hindsight, throwing him in Civil War with no real introduction was probably the best they could have done, because he's exists in this world. But that allowed them the freedom to go about doing what they wanted to do with this movie.
I see what you mean. Because if they hadn't done that, they would have had to bring him into the rest of the world to connect him to the rest of the Marvel.
Right, exactly. Because you had to tie with the CIA agent Ross and things like that from Civil War. So it was natural to see Ross in this movie because, they've already had their interaction and things like that. So yeah, it helped free it from just having to be, because even with the cutscenes, you look at the cutscenes really, I mean, not the cutscenes, but the end credit scenes, where like most end credit scenes always have some real demonstrative tie to what's going to be happening next in the world, and these didn't. These basically, it actually gave you a connection to what's going to happen in the next Black Panther movie instead. As well as, by the way, look who's here. Boom. Winter Soldier, the White Wolf. Yeah.
I think that is definitely a strength, because it was like what I was mentioning before with the whole kind of fatigue with major events. It's nice to have something a little bit more isolated. And I guess I'm doing this more as I start to read more comics, because a lot of them are just interconnected, which is cool. They're in the same world. But you end up feeling like you have to read like 10 comics at a time. It's nice to have something that's more standalone, and you can just digest it as it is without having to worry about how it connects to all this shit over here. I like your point. It's good shit that it wasn't too connected to the other motherfuckers, which is, I feel like Doctor Strange was kind of like that. I remember like a vague reference to Iron Man in the beginning, but other than that, he didn't really talk to any of the other people in that world until at the end. I think there was a reference to Thor, but
do you think that's and I thought about this too, do you think that's the result of the fact that when you take Black Panther, you take Ant-Man, you take Doctor Strange, they have their following, but there aren't the names in the Marvel Universe, whereas Captain America is kind of always going to be, I mean, for God's sakes, they took a Captain America movie and made it the Civil War. Captain America,
bothers me.
Thor, Iron Man, in a sense, are major enough characters to where they're gonna always have to be tied into these, tied to the lodestone of the major event. Whereas, we're gonna get a Miss Marvel movie that's probably gonna be in the same vein as Strange. What? I mean, not Miss Marvel. I keep calling Miss Marvel.
Oh, Captain Marvel?
Yeah, Captain Marvel.
I was going to say, that's the Miss Marvel movie? What the fuck?
I'm sorry.
And I can't get Miles? Are you kidding me? I'm sorry.
I keep saying Miss Marvel. Sorry. My bad. Captain Marvel. But you're going to get a Captain Marvel movie that's probably going to be the same, because she's going to get soft introed in Infinity War. So she's going to be free of that whole tie. But I feel like Captain America, I think where most of our fatigue is coming from is because when there's a Captain America, Iron Man, or to a lesser extent Thor movie, it's always going to be some big, huge thing. Whereas Guardians, Black Panther, these are characters that people probably don't know much about, that get to just have their own thing, and then but they also are a part of this.
I do think that might just be a benefit of them not being known. I guess the intrigue behind them, because I remember when Guardians came out, and I'm ashamed to admit it. I don't know who the fuck they were. I'd never heard of the Guardians line before that.
Yeah, I could say I've only seen them briefly in maybe Fantastic Four comic books. It's like, you know, they show up in somebody else's thing, but I've never read a Guardians comic.
So I was not biased as like a Guardians fan because I guarantee I've never heard of those motherfuckers. But it was intriguing to me to be introduced to characters I was unaware of. And I think that really worked to their benefit. It was a very successful movie. Same kind of thing with Ant-Man. I kind of knew who Ant-Man was, but he's not that motherfucker. I'm sorry. I know he was like one of the original Avengers and shit, but he's not that. Actually, I don't think that Ant-Man was one of the original Avengers, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, no, I think he was like second run or something like that.
Yeah, because I think that Ant-Man was Scott Lang or something. Not, yeah, whatever. It's Ant-Man.
Hold on, I'm trying to remember. He's not Hank Pym, right?
No, I think the old dude in that movie is Hank Pym. I think this dude is Scott.
Right, because Hank was the asshole who wife beater. All that. Yeah.
Okay, quick aside. Are we never gonna be able to get over that? The fact that he did that shit. Like, this shit happened.
I know. I just like to say that because it's just like, yeah, you're the wife beater.
No, I mean, like, so. Oh, what comic was that? I think it was during Secret Empire or some shit that it came up that he did that, and it was like this really dramatic moment. And I think he brought it up as a character. He was like, you know, this happened a long time ago. No matter what I do, I just always have this kind of stain on me. And I was like, yeah, you kind of do. It's weird that we can never talk about this character. I was saying it's good to slap a woman, but it was.
Yeah, no, but it's like you can't reference him, it seems like, without referencing the fact that, you know.
It's so, because if you read like the current infamous Iron Man with Dr. Doom has done a ton of heinous shit, but we're treating him like a good guy. Whereas Hank Pym slapped a woman one time. He's like the worst villain in the Marvel universe. It shit is so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry for that aside. I just found it odd. Because I saw that come up on Twitter one day and I was like, I don't know.
No, it's just an interesting thing.
Because I also feel uncomfortable talking about that character because I know what he did. He just has that stain on him forever.
Right. Because I don't know much about it, but I know he's done some significant things, some significant heroic things. He's been a part of key moments of success in the Marvel Universe. But it's just like, bruh, you hit your wife.
I was too bad. He just has that stain that can just never go away. It's almost like Aquaman being like that loser who talks to fish. Like, no matter how many badass stuff he does,
yeah.
For a lot of people, he's just that dude that talks to fish.
Yeah, it's like you can go back and swim with the dolphins now. Thank you. We appreciate you. Like, yeah.
All right. But I don't mean to talk about ants for too long. Back to this Black Panther motherfucker. Yeah, I don't know if I would definitely say, as far as the Marvel movies, it's definitely one of the top ones for me. I might still put the first Avengers ahead of it. Because I was like,
Avengers fucking like that movie is. I feel underrated now. I know that there've been more movies that have done things that were cooler. The movie's fucking underrated as hell.
It was a milestone moment for like just comic book movies in general. That was the first time we really had that massive of an event as we had there, and we were, you know, kudos to Marvel. They really built up to this major thing. I saw it on TV a few weeks ago, and I was like, man, I feel like we don't appreciate how amazing this moment was to have the Avengers form on the big screen this way.
No, because think about the risk that Marvel did with that movie. Like, again, going back to the whole how they utilized the three major Avengers to like push towards this moment. Even the Hulk movie that people don't talk about, which I think is, again, another kind of underrated movie, in my opinion. The one with, gosh, I can't think of his name, who played the Incredible Hulk. Not the first Ang Lee one. No, second one.
I vaguely remember it.
But yeah, I think that one, like, I think people miss out on the fact that one helped really propel, like, things even more so.
Right, there was like a Iron Man reference in the end of that one.
Iron Man was in it. He came and he talked to goddamn.
He was Ross.
The general. Yeah, he talked to the general.
Man,
was like, yeah.
I always forget
program. Yeah, everybody forgets that. It was like
started there. You're right. Shit.
Exactly, and everybody forgets that dumb shit.
I guess it's because we have a different Hulk actor now. Because I'm aware of the movie you're talking about, but I never think of it as being part of this Marvel line. But you're correct. Like it started way back.
It was number 2. Iron Man, and then that, and then you went to Thor. Then you went to Captain America.
Yeah.
Then back to Iron Man 2. No, Iron Man 2. Did Iron Man 2 come before Captain America or after?
I don't remember.
I can't remember the sequence.
But I will say you were right. It didn't occur to me until you just said that I never think of that movie as being one of this set, and yet it was it was definitely early on.
Because the reason why in the beginning of the Avengers that Black Widow was where she was, because Tony Stark went to Ross and asked him about fucking like Banner. And that started them to like go look for him and follow his trail.
Yeah, we got so many fucking movies now.
Yeah, no, and it's funny. There are so many of them out there, but yeah, that was. But you know, you look at that, it's like all these movies that they did, even the ones that people didn't like the, you know, you could say Thor, or whatever, and all that. They took those and they pushed them into this great fucking moment where we got to see, like, you know, Earth's mightiest heroes, as they're called, fucking come to goddamn together and oppose this like huge fucking threat, and like have these great iconic moments. Like Two Shots still gives me chills when you get the back-to-back shot when they're spinning around the camera. You see everybody and like Hawkeye's like that was fucking awesome. And then at the end when Loki wakes up and you just see them all standing there, like that shit was great. That was fucking amazing.
But as much as I love Black Panther, I'm not certain I'm willing to put it in my one spot, because like for me, growing up with some of these characters, even the ones I didn't know very well, like I feel as though a lot of people didn't appreciate, or at least don't remember how special that Avengers moment really was. And that's certainly not a knock against Black Panther to say that one hero couldn't like stand up to the entire Avengers team forming. That's not a knock at all. As far as my top, I would definitely put it up there, maybe number 2. I'm trying to remember if I like Age of Ultron that much, or if I'm just biased because I like Ultron as a film. I don't know. Definitely top 3 for me, I would probably say. There's a lot of them now that I would have to think through, but it's up there.
I actually thought about going through and watching them all again.
That's probably take a week off work.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's like every evening I come home and just watch a movie for like 2-3 weeks. That's what it's gonna have to be. But no, it definitely rates high. I'd say it's my favorite because of the depth that it went to. I can't really, you know, comment on is it the best ever? Yeah, no, I guess from a personal standpoint, it would be the best ever because of the depth that it went into, the conversations they had, and things like that. But if I were just to base it off of superhero shit, no.
I mean,
because you could even say like fucking Iron Man 2 had better superhero moments, quote unquote.
I guess, yeah. And when I say I still probably put the first Avengers above, I hope you guys know that it's a pretty close tie, because I feel like they did different shit for me. Like the first Avengers had great hero moments, but like you said, Black Panther had this, not just depth, it was just like a different kind of story. But I still think of some of like even the dialogue in the first Avengers, like when Loki first hits on the scene or whatever. What the fuck was it he said? He was talking to I want to call him Samuel L. Jackson instead of
Cage.
Yeah,
Fury. Sorry, Fury. That's Nick Fury.
Yeah, when they first meet, he's like, "We don't have any quarrel with you," and Loki's like, "An ant doesn't have quarrel with a boot." And I was like, "Oh shit, he just shit on your life, though, bruh, bruh, no respect for you anymore." But
you just reminded me of the moment though when he tried to go high like that against the Hulk, and the Hulk was just like, "Man, fuck you," like just pound you into the ground. Like, I don't have time for conversations. Just fucking lay down.
But yeah, I will say they both do very different shit for me. Black Panther, you know, compared to Avengers, has a lot of, and I'm sure we're going to touch on this soon, just like a lot of interesting themes sewed throughout it. Not just racial stuff, but just a bunch of different themes in general that you could touch on that the first Avengers didn't have because it was more just a superhero extravaganza. I don't know. Maybe 1A and 1B for me. I think I love them both, but they both satisfy different needs for me as far as storytelling.
For different reason. Definitely. And I can see why, like, the people who were arguing about Winter Soldier being like the one that they thought at first, because Winter Soldier probably was the first one that really went into like serious relationship things and serious, like making the hero really truly have to think deep, because like, that's your fucking best friend, dude. God, you lost that you thought was dead, and now he's back, and like
I'm gonna have to rewatch it because that didn't even come to mind when I was talking about the best. So, and I realize now that I feel like I'm mixing some of it with Civil War, so I need to go back and watch it.
Yeah, no, because Civil War was kind of like the resolution to that whole situation, because it was like, God damn, you just broke my feeling, you just broke my heart, Bucky. And it's like, you know, Winter Soldier, and then
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I do need to go back with you and just like rewatch that shit, because now they're starting to blur together a little bit. But
yeah, they are. Okay, villain. Do you think this is the best villain ever?
Let's see. Yeah, we're not counting Thanos because he didn't come out yet.
Yeah, we don't have Thanos yet. We're talking about in the existing Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're not talking about the man who's going to punch the shit out of like Iron Man and lay him down like he was nothing. God damn, I love that part of that. I always love that part of that trailer because you just see this guy just come and he slowly balls his fist and bam.
Like, I think I'm gonna say yes. I would like to give a special mention to something that's a little underrated and pissed me off a little bit. Mandarin in Iron Man 3. I thought he was fucking great. I was pissed when he turned out to be a joke at the end, because he had this great cult leader vibe to him, and then he's just a bitch at the end, which I was really mad at, because I was like, Marvel, once again, you can't stop fucking around. You're always gonna get your fucking laughs in, right?
Yeah.
But I want to give him a special mention because up until the end, I thought he was great. But Killmonger, I think he might actually be the best villain. He's the most interesting because you and I were talking about this a little bit before. A lot of the other villains are just, I'm going to blow this shit up, or I'm going to... No, it's mostly I'm going to blow this shit up. It's usually what it amounts to. I mean, sometimes they want to steal some shit, but usually that shit is
kind of tools to me. Most of the villains have always been kind of tools to help further the story along. It's like, this guy is going to do some bad shit. Heroes, go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember. It was pretty much to introduce a hero or to force people to come together. Like in Guardians, we had Ronan the Accuser, seemingly just for the purpose of making the Guardians come together.
Right.
Same thing with, what the fuck were they? The Chitaurian Avengers? Like, some of these guys simply exist for establishing the hero.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That needs to happen, but they're not normally that compelling.
It's like, who was the villain in Civil War? I can't remember, because I felt like that was the most useless villain out of all of them.
Oh, that dude?
Yeah, he was just there to just like cause the trouble and to introduce the question, to force the argument between the two sides. You know what I mean? He was just, I'm that guy that's gonna do something, and then y'all gonna talk about it. But don't mind me, because I mean really nothing.
I don't know. Maybe
also that Claw was in there, by the way.
I wish they would have done that as like 2 movies, because it feels like there was enough material there to stretch it out a little bit more. You know, you have your Superhero Registration Act shit going on. I don't expect movies to be as in-depth as comics, but I feel like we could have gone further with that.
No, they should have split it. But I guess they were just, and I'm glad they split Infinity War. I'm glad and honestly, I feel like Civil War was the catalyst for that, because they saw the error of their ways and it was like, yo, we had so much that we could have done with this if we would just split it. and they missed that opportunity to do so because they wanted to keep that schedule.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of these villains. I can't think of anyone who was that compelling. Some of them were strong, which were a great challenge. None of them had any particular interesting motives or thoughts, or they were fairly one-dimensional. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Whereas Killmonger had, I guess from some standpoint, you could argue he was one-dimensional because he only had one real thought and say, "I'm going to liberate the blacks." But he was still a more complex character, partially in origin and also.
Yeah, no, because they fleshed his background out a lot. I thought, and you got to understand his motivations more than anybody else, because it wasn't just I'm just gonna fuck shit up. And yeah, it was a revenge tale for him, but it was not just a revenge tale. It was like, it had deeper meaning because of who he was getting revenge for, his father's death, and how he felt about not just that, but the outside world as well, and knowing that he comes from a land where these people have all these wonderful technological masterpieces that has made this country very prosperous, made it like great to live in. It's caused harmony between the tribes and all of that. They have a very peaceful, productive existence, whereas he comes from Oakland, California, from the hood, and that's not how life was growing up. And it's just like, yo, if I could have had something like that, and maybe I need to take this and give it to other people. It wasn't just about like although it was twisted, his intentions were well. And it's funny because now that I think of it, he was like the reflection of Nakia, which is the funny thing is that when you think most superhero movies is hero versus villain, and they kind of reflect each other's ideology, whereas he didn't reflect Black Panther's ideology, because Black Panther was just about the tradition of Wakanda and things like that.
Yeah, it seemed like he was still trying to find his ideology.
Yeah. Whereas Nakia was that person who went out and found, a different take and was encouraging him to take a look at her ideology, which was the exact opposite in way. I mean, they were similar and opposite. Both Nakia and Killmonger wanted to make the world better for others out, side of Wakanda. But Nakia, her thing was by going and doing things that were more positive and charitable, whereas Killmonger was just like, no, I want to like take my people, lift them above the others, and subjugate them. He wasn't looking for a peaceful type of resolution. He wasn't trying to balance the scales, whereas Nakia was the one who was trying to balance the scale. It was two different types of revolutions going on, but oddly enough, the main hero wasn't the one. He was the one who had to be inspired to join, pick a side.
Which is good. It gave a little opportunity for Black Panther to have some evolution within the story. It's not because I'm sure many people, if they do know who Black Panther is, probably think of him as, he's a king, he's all this, he's all that, as though he doesn't have to do some evolution himself. I mean, we watched Black Panther kind of grow into the role of being king in Black Panther. It's not like this is a Black Panther who's been ruling Wakanda for like 10 years or something. He just, in the movie, he just went into that role. He went to that ceremony. Yeah. So we got to see him grow up a little bit too on the side, which is good for his character, because I don't know if it's partially just the fact that he wears a mask, but there's a lot of times I feel a kind of disconnect with him as opposed to other characters. I don't know if that's just because you could never see this fucker's face, but just as a character, I never felt too connected to him. I don't mean it's in the movie, by the way. I just mean, like, generally speaking, as a character.
And it could be treatment, because part of that isolation that made the movie good kind of probably doesn't work in the comic books, because you don't necessarily get to see him interact as much. So I'm thinking in the comic, I mean, do he have a lot of interaction with others in his comic series from what you've read?
From what I read, he did spend more time not being Panther and being like king and going around and talking to people and shit, which is I think why I started.
I mean,
to
like
connect.
with the Marvel Universe itself.
Oh, no, but I think the purpose of that line was to kind of build up Wakanda. So
right.
I don't know if he does that more in other comics.
Maybe that's part of this whole standoffish feeling that you might get or some people might get, because it's like his concerns are mainly just his world, and being, ruling his world. Whereas you can argue that other comic characters have more weight thrusted upon them, whether they want to or not, where he kind of chooses not to.
It's interesting. One thing I will say about Killmonger, unlike a lot of the other villains, probably all of them, we actually got to see Killmonger work at something. So we see him later. Yeah. We realize that he was that kid, but we see him throughout the story. He's like manipulating what is that fucker's name? Claw. Making his way to Wakanda, doing all this shit, taking over. You don't normally see that from the villains. Normally the villains are just strong already. Ronan the Accuser was just strong to begin with. Loki, already had his plan to bring in the Chitauri Warfleet or whatever. Ego in the movies, I think he's I don't remember what the fuck he was in the movie, but strong. Like all the villains are already just strong villains for the most part. Sometimes you see them become a bad guy, but it's not a journey that you witness with them. We went on a journey with Killmonger as he came to Wakanda, and you don't see that with any other villain that I can think of off the top of my head, at least.
Yeah, no, he was fully developed. He had a fully developed backstory, and his motivations were, clearly cultivated and used as a part of the storyteller, which I thought was a good thing too, because it was a part of what helped bring dialogue and thought to the movie. Like, this dude's really like, you didn't, I've never at one point despised him either. I feel like that's another thing that you like get with comic book movies, is that, and maybe that's part of the reason why they don't take time to build upon them, because they just want you to not like them. It's like Claw, you did not like Claw.
I thought Claw was kind of fun.
Huh? I mean,
I thought that was kind of fun.
When I say did not like, I mean as far as like, this guy's just evil. We know he's pretty. Yeah. I love the character. Andy Serkis. Why doesn't Andy Serkis act more as Andy Serkis? I actually, it's funny because somebody else I know said that too, and I was like, I am in total agreement with you. But yeah, why doesn't Andy Serkis actually be in more movies, not CGIing a chimp or a goddamn, Gollum or some shit like that? Like, this dude, like, is a really good actor. He played the fucking role, and like, he looked badass. Like, it's funny because seeing him on screen, I almost forgot that this dude's not like just some meek, dude who wears a like green suit with balls on him. He's actually pretty big. He could play. He probably could play a lot of different things without all that shit.
Not Claw though, because he's dead. Spoilers.
Well, I mean, he served his purpose. He served his purpose, which is, it's funny because Claw was the only classic MCU villain in there, because that's what all MCU villains generally have done. They serve their purpose to tell the story. Whereas I will argue that this movie propelled Claw above every other Marvel villain to be too, because he came to in like all of them and served his purpose, but his purpose weighed a lot heavier in my mind than a lot of other villains that they've had in Marvel.
I found myself suddenly wishing, especially after he died, I was like, but I kind of want to see more Claw now. Like, I'm not saying he has to be the main villain of the next Black Panther, but we can find a place for this motherfucker.
Like, I kind of did wish he would have got away so he could just like showed up doing some random shit. Like, oh shit, they caught me selling guns here. Let me get out of here or something. Just to have him on screen.
Just have him. Figure it out. If you didn't want to bring him back, you shouldn't have made him so good. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
That was on you guys. But yeah, this Killmonger guy. Very interesting. Very interesting. I feel like a lot of people put it on just, the actor's ability, and he's a good actor, obviously, but I just think his character in general, he had something better to work with than a lot of the other villains, because it's a villain problem in comics in general. They're fairly one-dimensional quite often. Yeah, I would say it's almost a universal problem with villains. It's probably one of the reasons Joker is so popular, because he's a fucking crazy person, but he's not. His motivations are never clear. Like, you never know what the fuck he's trying to pull.
No, and every now and then you see different sides of him that make you think in these parts. So, yeah, no, comic book villains for the most part suck. Let's just be totally honest. They're just always tools. And that's why I like probably why I like the Marvel universe more than anything, because they don't necessarily, I mean, even though they still do the villain as a tool thing, they change up enough stuff to make it at least more engaging while you're watching that tool go to work. You know what I mean? Like with this, they changed a lot from what I've been reading, because again, I've never read Black Panther, but you see stuff like Nakia, the relationship that they seem to be building in these movies with her and T'Challa. It's not like they're trying to keep them apart. They're kind of possibly working to a point where maybe they'll end up king and queen, possibly. Shuri, you get the sense from what I've read about her from comic standpoints that she's very ambitious. She kind of wants the power. She's not the Shuri that we saw in the movie, and things like that,
So again, I haven't read too much of Black Panther, but I did not approve of his relationship with what's-her-face. I wanted to be with Storm.
No.
I like that. Sorry.
No, I don't. No.
I like that couple.
No.
I know some people don't like it. I do.
I don't. It's funny because I was reading, when in my reading, I stumbled upon that and I looked at that and I was like, yeah, that's some dumb comic book shit. That's just some dumb comic book shit.
I don't know why. I just like it.
Yeah, no, I don't need Storm being the queen of.
We need to get the X-Men, integrated. She can be like the ambassador to merge.
Maybe have him cheat on Nakia.
I didn't dislike the relationship with Nakia, but I like Storm as a character. And maybe I'm just trying to find some way to force her into the MCU early. I don't know. Who knows?
Probably, yeah, you're forcing it. I don't need that relationship. I think Nakia is the perfect. They built the perfect character for him because she is that. It's funny because she is that, like, what people always say, that black woman standing side by side with her black man, but kind of leading him along in some areas where he can't help, where he's not able to understand things. She's able to come through the clutch, because that's pretty much what she did. She sparked the revolution within them.
Yeah, she was instrumental. A lot of them were. We talked a lot about Killmonger. A lot of these characters were there was something special. I did not see myself going in caring that much about Shuri, because again, I haven't read that much of Black Panther, and I only vaguely knew who she was, and who I saw didn't quite match what I saw in the comics. But again, I don't have enough of a history reading that to know what are the other. Yeah. But I did find myself liking the character. She's younger, she's vibrant, she's got the energy to her, incredibly intelligent. It was one of many different types of positive images for Black people.
Yeah, no, I feel like anybody who had significant screen time didn't waste screen time in that movie. And that was another thing. I'm like, hats off to the writer, because the people who he gave face time, he made that shit count. Like, they did not, even fucking Forrest Whitaker's character. Like, you know, this guy is just like, you think he's just a master of the ceremony, things like that. But even he had fucking like serious weight to him.
Yeah.
Like, speaking of characters, favorite character.
Who's your favorite character?
I'm asking, who's your favorite character?
Oh.
I know who mine is. I already know who mine is.
It might be Killmonger. If I'm going with heroes, it might actually be Shuri.
Yeah, Okoye is mine. I fucking love Okoye. Like,
how?
Yeah, I know. I'm a sucker for dark skinned aggressive women. Sorry. But seriously, but no, this like her, like because she kind of was the representative of the Dora Milaje, and like the whole philosophy. It's like she was a very good character, all around, because you saw her. Even again, she even had weight to her because she had her personal struggle. You know, when Killmonger, quote unquote, killed the Black Panther, she was like, "No, I'm not gonna revolt against my country. This is what I was born to do. I have to do my duty. You know, you guys go do what you want to do, and with my blessings, but I have to do. I can't just throw my responsibility to the wayside because I don't like, you know, that person in charge."
She was the epitome of a soldier, generally. You know, just as much as she does seem to care about everybody, nothing is coming before her. You know, what does she say? She's loyal to that throne, no matter who sits in it. She's like what you would think of if you think of like an American soldier, like one actually worth respecting. Like, she just epitomizes that soldier loyalty. When she was talking to Nakia or whatever, I actually thought she was gonna fight her at one point. Like, after she said like, "Come on, let's go. We'll betray the new king," or whatever. I thought she was gonna kill her right there, because like she just always presented that I'm loyal to the throne shit. Right. So I was actually a little surprised that she even let her walk away.
But I don't think it was just like she was just loyal to the throne. I think it was her loyalty to her country, because I also think that she could see, like, if she would have went this path and took the door, it was going to be a lot of blood spilled. That's what she would. I think that's what her thing was. She didn't want to see her. She didn't want to have to kill her countrymen, unless forced to do it. Which, hey, I mean, when forced to do it, she did a good job, by the way.
But whatever her motivation was, she was definitely committed. Was what I sensed.
Yeah.
Because again, I was surprised she let her walk away, because in my eyes, I'm seeing this woman. She, in her head, as far as I'm concerned, she is a sword that swings on behalf of Wakanda, and don't get in her way or she'll slice you in half, no matter who you are, no matter how much she likes you and shit. Because even at the end, that dude she was fucking whatever.
Yeah, I can't think of his name, but yeah.
Like, he's like, "Would you kill me, my love?" I'm like, "Yeah, bro, I'll fucking kill you."
Right.
What are you talking about?
Like,
I'm Dora Milaje. What do you mean? Will I kill you? Yes. That was not her reaction, but when he asked, I was like, "What kind of stupid question is that?"
Right.
Of course she'll kill you, bro. Come on.
Especially after everything that he did. By the way, he was, again, not another wasted character, because his thing was a good part in the whole struggle that T'Challa had as being king. Like, when they didn't catch Claw and all of that, because Claw killed his father many years ago when he stole that vibranium. Yeah.
I think that's something they can, maybe not with him, but just build on in the next movie, is the way T'Challa's citizens feel about him and what he does. Yeah. You know, one of the themes with his character is always, you're supposed to be our king, but you're out there fucking around being a superhero, you know, not paying full attention to us. And then when you do come back, sometimes we get attacked by supervillains. You know, obviously because they want the vibranium, but also because you're out there fucking with them. So what the fuck?
Hey, shit's gonna be interesting after Infinity War for Black Panther because if everybody, if you've seen the trailer, you notice that one of the battlegrounds is Wakanda.
Yes.
So there's going to be a lot of upheaval going on after that.
There better be some goddamn American soldiers out there. I don't see why.
No, it's like when they showed the rush, it was just like Captain America, Winter Soldier, fucking Wakanda. You know, and then you had the other superheroes sparsed in between.
Yes, that's going to be interesting for the world of Wakanda and his character. But yeah, like a lot of just different kinds of characters. When I say kinds, you know, what I don't know if I like to touch on, you know, analysis of black characters in movies, but one of the things people were talking about going into this is, you know, we're happy to see this movie because we're tired of being portrayed as criminal or ghetto or just like these different kind of archetypes you've seen of black people historically in movies, which I think has been getting a little better, but you do still see them at times. You know, we're tired of being portrayed as these like 6, 9 different archetypes of black people. And we had like 5, 6 different like major black characters in there, and they all were different archetypes of characters. You know, what's her name? Okoye, soldier, hard, scary black woman.
He's not scary.
I think I attached to Shuri because, you know, I got that energetic nerd sensibility. Like, what's that dude's name? The CIA dude, when he got up and he's like marveling at the technology.
Oh yeah, Ross, Agent Ross.
Yeah, when he gets up and he's looking at that and she notices that he's doing that, you see like this kind of excitement that she has to nerd out for a second. Right. And she's explaining that shit. I'm like, I've had that feeling so many times, dude.
She was adorable. She was great. Like she was so proud of what she did. She was so into it. Like, and like she probably spit the best line in the world when she was like, "What are you doing letting this colonizer in here?" I died. Like I like died when she said that shit. Like, oh fuck. She is great. Like from the time you were introduced to her, she was great. And I hope they do great things with her.
But she has like I was saying, she had as far as archetypes of a character goes, I don't mean to just relegate her to being a nerd because she had lots of nice qualities, but she wasn't any of those more negative, disliked archetypes of black people. She showed like black people can be nerds too, I guess, and not in like the cheesy way some other shows and movies do, where they have like a black nerd, but he's not really a nerd of any kind. He just like seems to know something about computers, and he still talks all ghetto and is essentially just a black guy with glasses. No offense. I don't know. I feel like when a lot of people try to pull like the idea of a black nerd, I can see right through it. That's not a nerd. But with her, she really portrayed this sense of love of technology and excitement around all of it. So I can see a character like that, for example, just inspiring little black girls to come into my profession, computer science, the best, you know, whatever.
That would be awesome. That would be really, really awesome. But yeah, one thing I wanted to touch on before we finish talking about Black Panther, though, is I remember mentioning to you part of the reason I wanted to do this was because of Killmonger, because of how Killmonger reminded me of a lot of people who I grew up around. And that was one of the main themes as far as conversation when it came to Black Panther, like the division between African Americans. What should people like the Wakandans who have everything do to help people who like them, Black people, across the world? And what should be done if we ever did have certain power like Wakanda had? How should it be used? How should it be treated? How should we go forward with it? I grew up around so many Killmongers because
lots of people with that hairstyle.
No, lots of people with the attitude that I mean, that hairstyle was actually cool though. I wish I could have that. I wish I was like young enough to be able to rock that, but age is slowly making growing that much hair impossible. It's fine. Start now, and you'll have it. You can walk around and just like, you know, be Killmonger. But no, because I just when I was listening to him speak and some of the things he was saying, especially when he was talking about how, like, you know, you guys have all this stuff here. You could be out here helping people. Like, we need to give them all these weapons so they can go and they can take over themselves. And it's like, yeah, I get it, dude. You want the help, but you're going about the wrong way. You're that same dude. You're my uncles. You're like family friends. You're that same person that I hear on Twitter, YouTube, whatever, that talks that revolutionary talk about having this strong desire to uplift your people and to like break them out of oppression. But you want to go the other way. You don't want to just quote unquote break us out of oppression. You want to be the oppressor. You want to be the person to dictate, and you want to be the person to show them how it feels, rather than not necessarily helping your people. You want to turn your people into the thing that you hate the most. And it was like, when I was looking at it, I was like, I just kept thinking about all the people that I've known who like that whole like tear the government down, blow it up, fuck white people. You know, it's all about us. Like, we need to, like, you know, get together and like overtake them and all this. It's like, I felt like I went through a weird myriad of emotions, because it was like, it was the feeling of nostalgia from the conversations that I heard growing up, to the feeling of sadness, knowing that there, you know, I still know people to this day who feel that way, but kind of also a kind of encouragement to see that they're actually discussing this on screen and bringing this to people's attention, because it's something that I think, you know, in the Black community is a serious problem. We don't know how to interact with other Black people. Straight up. If you're not from America, we don't know how to really interact with you unless we grew up with you, and then it's just a commonplace thing. But if you're not already a part of our inner circle, we tend to be very, very dismissive and angry and hostile towards other Black. And I felt like that was part of Killmonger's thing, was like being you know, someone who came from someone from Wakanda. He kind of felt like angry at them because he felt like they kicked him out, when it wasn't necessarily like a wanted thing. It was like, in order to keep up the idea that, yeah, we do have these war dogs out here doing these secret things for us, we can't necessarily just pick you up and take you out of your neighborhood and nobody will ask questions, you know?
Right.
Type of thing.
I mean, yeah. If they did bring him back, definitely everybody's gonna be like, who the fuck is this kid? And he's gonna tell them that you killed that dude. Like what's that dude named? We had to maintain the lie. That's what he said.
Yeah.
You couldn't bring that kid back. You knew too much.
Yeah. And like, I understand that was his hatred for Wakanda in a way. But he also had that built up hatred that, again, we have when we feel like, oh, well, if you have X, Y, and Z, you should be giving X, Y, and Z to all of us. And if you're not, then what good are you? It's kind of like how a lot of Black people felt about Obama after his first couple of years, when he didn't magically turn Black America into this like utopian society where we, like, you know, control the world, or the United States rather. I remember hearing tons of conversations of people dismissing him because he didn't do enough for the Black people. Not knowing and understanding the dynamics of how things work or why they do them, and agree with how Wakanda like did things. they were doing their way. They weren't necessarily doing it to be, malicious towards the world, but we tend to get this feeling that if things don't go a certain way, then you clearly are against. And I found that really, really compelling because it was just like, this is how we are. This is exactly how we are to each other. And it bothered me, and it was like I said, I went through a lot of emotions during that movie because it's like that kind of Killmonger irked my soul with that. He really did, because it's like, dude, you're going about it the wrong way. Like, no, it's like that person that doesn't want to find a happy medium. He just like it either got to go all this way or it doesn't go anyway. And I hate those people. He really made me angry. And that's why it's probably why he's my favorite villain. And probably the best villain, because he took you there. He took you to places where other villains could not take you. He took me to an emotional place during that movie.
Yeah, you almost feel yourself wanting to argue with him when he talks. At least I did. Like when he's saying shit, I'm like, I almost feel like I want to talk to you and argue with you about this, which I don't normally feel with a villain. I thought Killmonger was pointing out an interesting aspect of Black American identity. And what I mean by that is, you look at different cultures. I think this is something that's not recognized about Black Americans, is that Black American is a culture unto itself that's separate from African cultures and shit like that. Right? We have our own culture that has its roots here. And with that comes, certain aspects. This is a culture that was built out of slavery, essentially, right? Which is different than a lot of other cultures. So you see, people from, say, Asian backgrounds, Hispanic backgrounds, they have these nice aspects to their culture. Ours was born out of slavery. And I think something that a lot of people don't take into account is the level of resentment that comes with that. Because one of the things that Killmonger, brought up through lines like at the end when he was about to die and Black Panther offered to save him, but he refused because he wouldn't want to be in a prison. And he said something like,
put me in the sea like my Black brothers who jumped off the ships because they refused to live in bondage.
Yes, and I love that line because it points out, what I'm getting at with this identity thing is that a lot of Black people here today, they identify with those slaves. And I feel like I want to call it a problem. It is something out there. It is a factor of the culture that I don't think people recognize often enough because, I've had discussions with you and other people. I'll say things like racism has gotten a little better over time. We've gotten less racist. A lot of people freak out on me thinking that I mean that racism is gone altogether, although I just mean that things have gotten better, still with room for improvement. I get strong opposition from people like him. And I think the reason for that is because they associate so much with those slaves, it's harder for them to recognize that anything has gotten better whatsoever. And I think that pushes them more toward being I don't even want to say revolutionary, more extreme in their approaches, or at least in their desires. They feel like if they're not a slave in particular, they feel like they can really sympathize and empathize with what slaves went through, which I think is a bit much because slaves went through some serious shit. But I think that's an interesting aspect of Black American culture is this strong association a lot of people have with slaves, with people who got, say, beaten by the police in 50s, 60s, that type of time area. Like, all of the bad shit that happened to Black people throughout American history, they tend to clutch onto it and sew it into themselves as part of their identity. So they always feel extremely aggrieved. And I think that's what Killmonger was kind of pointing out in his character with his anger, wanting to get back at all these people who held me down. Which is he did grow up probably harshly in Oakland and stuff, but notice he was top of his class. He was an agent for America. It's not like he was a slave in any practical sense, but he still felt as they felt. I think that's something we let skate by a little too often with the culture here. I don't know if you got that sort of.
No, I did because it is like I'm not gonna go to the extreme way where you hear some white people say, "Can y'all get over slavery?" But at the same time, we do hold a little too harsh, or at least in the wrong. Well, we hold to the wrong things, like when it comes to slavery. I think, like instead of like reflecting and seeking to ensure things don't go that way, we kind of just like to graft our whole being to slavery. Like even now, like Killmonger, you just said this guy was top of his class. He was a world-class assassin, like racked up more kills than any man in the CIA. He's an expert in like breaking down government. He basically knows how to infiltrate and sow, dissent and destroy government with his mind, not just with the gun. This guy is just like, he's a like well-honed, highly educated human being who can do a lot of stuff. Yet the whole, I'm sure if you would have had a conversation with him talking about his time in the CIA, he would just break it down to him just working, bearing under the weight of the yoke of the government's chains in order to put himself in a position to do what he wants, rather than like some people would say having an exceptional, remarkable career and proving to people that, you as a black man can excel beyond anybody in anything if you put your mind to it. His thoughts are probably just like, nah, I was just like being a slave until I was ready to break free, sort of thing.
I was trying to be very careful with my language there too, because again, anytime I bring this type of thing up, people really come at me as though I'm saying racism has been obliterated. They come at me as if I'm making that, slavery's over, why don't you get over it argument. And I've never made anything close to that kind of argument.
But no, it's like you said, you just want people to like admit that, hey, things have gotten better, and things have gotten better. No one should be able to 100% like dismiss the fact that there are things that are still out there that need improvement. Things are better. Considering that you go from a culture, a race of people who only got fed when the master said so, got fed scraps, were chained like animals, were sent out to the field like animals, to where like, yeah, I gotta have to go get up in the morning and go to work, but I have that choice. It's not like I'm being forced to go to my job, although I feel like I am because fucking bills. God damn it. Fuck you.
Forced in the way we're all forced.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like I can pursue things. Are there some doors that are like harder to open? Yeah, there's still some doors that are still harder to open. But I'm in college right now. I'm educating myself. You've been through college. You've educated yourself. You've had the opportunity. Not like it was like totally washed away from you like it was back then. We weren't taught to read, to write, anything. If we were, you were quote unquote house nigger, and you were only given that right for special purposes. Right. We do have a hell of a lot, and we have come a hell of a long way. Is there still a journey to take? Yes. But people need to stop really dismissing that. And I think it again goes back to that whole holding on to maybe it's holding on to a slave mentality in a way, because you seem so hard pressed to not try to take any of the positives and use those, to teach or to try to like, make things happen. You just fall back to the, you know, reparations. Like people still asking for reparations. I don't know why you're still asking for the fucking 40 acres and the mule. God damn it! Like seriously.
Was I gonna say there the way a lot of people associate with these slaves, and it's part of the reason I always bring up this. Not trying to force people to like be grateful or anything like that, but the reason I want them to acknowledge that things have gotten better is because when you do that, it gives you hope for the future. It makes you, I think, less radical, which I think was Killmonger's problem, is that if you associate so much with slaves and you feel like you're still kind of one of them, you're looking over history over the last, 200 or so years, and you're saying nothing has changed for us. Obviously, we need to go to something extreme now, because after a couple of 100 years, we've gotten nowhere. All this peace bullshit clearly isn't working for us because we haven't taken any steps forward. So now we have to go to an extreme. I think when you can't acknowledge that anything has gone right, you start to feel like you have to do something crazy because from your standpoint, nothing else works, right? I think that's what he was pointing to. I think that drives some of the more radical sections of not just Black people, like all kinds of social movements. Excuse me a sec. I know my throat's drying out like that. You see it with, say, women's movements sometimes, for example, throughout history. They never feel like anything has gotten any better for women. So you'll have an extreme subsection of feminists who tend to push more radical ideas than the mainstream feminists would do. Again, if you feel this helplessness, like you, after years, decades, centuries, maybe millennia in some cases, that nothing has gotten better, I can understand why you start to get radicalized. Because from your standpoint, well, we've tried everything for the last 100 years. This is the last thing we have left. Shoot them. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, because it's just like we've seen so many people rise up from impoverished, harsh circumstances, so we know it can be done. But people still like the quote unquote hood mentality and all that. Like, you're in the hood, you're not gonna get anywhere. This is a trap, blah blah blah. But it's like we know it's not a trap. Yet you continue to still push this message of how it is. Why aren't you pushing the fact that, again, Ryan Coogler comes from the place that he depicted in the movie? This man is doing amazing. He got out of the quote unquote trap and made something of himself. We really like to pull ourselves back in the race, I think. And that's why, I found, Killmonger so fascinating, because it's like, dude, if it were just about like not being able to grow up with your father or something like that, I would understand your rage a little bit more. And maybe we could work to solve that. But he just was dead set on this one mindset that was just, again, I've talked to many people who have that mindset, and it's just like, it's a futile argument. It was like, offer him redemption was kind of a futile thing for T'Challa, because people like them, they don't necessarily, again, if it's not going to be their way, they don't want it any other way. And it's hard to deal with people like that, and it's frustrating. And I hate being around people like that, because it's just like, I can't reason with you in any capacity. Us having a conversation is a waste of time. And I hate feeling like I just have to totally dismiss you because you're not even trying to take a step with me. Like, I'll take a step your way, you take 3 steps backwards. Like, I'm not going to cross the line to your side. So why can't we come to a middle? But they don't want any middle. It's just like it and that's the thing that I really got. Like, it made me start to think about that. It made me start thinking about interactions that I've had with people who weren't born in America, other black people who weren't born in America, things like that. It's just and that's why I could see why a lot of people would say this was their best movie, because into itself, it was probably generated the most conversation any Marvel movie has ever so far.
I think there was another theme kind of related to what I was just talking about that Killmonger touched on, but you could argue Wakanda touches on it too, and it's this. You get so attached to a particular identity that you are implicitly refusing to integrate with the rest of society. So from Killmonger's standpoint, it was, we're black people and we're going to take over all the other, essentially, I don't think he said in so many words necessarily, but we're black, let's rise up against these oppressors, fuck them in the ass with this gun, bang, bang. From his standpoint, it was always, we're black, we're the oppressed, we're the slaves. From Wakanda's standpoint, it was, we're Wakanda, we don't really care about anything else that's going on. And I see that in a lot of people, especially my more liberal friends when it comes to race and stuff like that, where it's never we're, kind of hate to put it this way, we're human and we can all come together and kind of coalesce into something. It's like we're a team and we want maybe equal standing with this other team, but we don't want to be the same team or anything. We separate ourselves in a way that we don't have to too often. And I think that was part of the issue with Wakanda in that case, as far as global integration. But it was a problem with Killmonger too, because I think one of the arguments they tried to make, or T'Challa tried to make, is, we can come out of isolation and become part of the world, and we can all be like, I don't know to what extent he meant this, but like together, kind of. But Killmonger doesn't want that. He doesn't want to be together because they are not us. They're just somebody else. They're somebody else we don't like. And I find that frustrating when I talk to people like that, because they don't seem to think that everybody living, not just in peace as like separate entities that don't fight each other, but living together properly, they don't think that's a goal worth striving for, which is odd, because they always bring up like MLK, and I would think that's the kind of thing MLK would have wanted, not just there's black people and then there's white people and they don't murder each other all the time, but that they actually integrated and acted like a single people. And I see a lot of people seem to implicitly not want that. I got that a little bit out of Killmonger's character too, and a bit of Wakanda's. They don't seem to realize that they are just disagreeing with the notion that we can or should be one peoples, that that's something that you should want, that that's a good thing. And they see the entire world through, I'm black, they're not. The best we can hope for is to exist without war, I guess. That might be an extreme way to put that, but
yeah,
it's low expectations from my point of view. But I see it a lot with different groups.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I hope this movie does kind of make us talk about this in a positive way so we can move away from some of those ideas. Of course, that article I sent you clearly shows that some people just don't get the point. That fucker.
I was about to say, like, I think some people might sympathize with the Killmonger character too much.
Yeah.
Like those people you said he reminds you of, I can see those kind of people seeing him and being like that dude in the article, why'd they kill him? He did nothing wrong. Like, I feel like one of the good things that movie did was it presented to us this viewpoint, which I don't think a lot of people acknowledge exists. And it kind of showed you that it's wrong. But I don't feel like a lot of people are going to get the message that it was wrong. They're just going to see somebody they sympathize with and kind of... I'd be curious to see how the conversation goes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Because I can definitely see him, and I think I mentioned it, one of the interesting things about that character was how charismatic he was. And in Wakanda, he won some people over to his cause, as people like that tend to do, because it's very sexy, I guess, to be part of the oppressed group. There's a sort of honor, prestige, kind of pride to being like the underdog, you could say, to being the one that gets pounded down on and gets to rise up. There's this romanticism around that kind of thing that I don't think there should be, but
yeah,
I think that's part of the reason people are so attracted to that viewpoint. They romanticize it a lot.
Yeah, they do. They definitely do. I don't know why I'm yawning.
Because I'm fucking boring you.
No, I know I am yawning. I actually took some medicine because I've been kind of fighting a cold and just realized I took the nighttime medicine. I shouldn't have taken the nighttime medicine. So,
but yeah, I feel like there was a lot of different things packed into those characters, especially Killmonger, but a lot of those characters.
Yeah, and it made it work. It made the whole thing work, and it's made me very excited about what they're going to do in the future. I hope Ryan Coogler is asked to come back and do the next one. I would love for him to do the whole trilogy.
You think there's gonna be?
I mean, you let Jon Favreau do the Iron Man trilogy. You might as well let.
Oh, it just didn't occur to me that we would have a trilogy. I just assumed there'd be like one more, and then that's kind of it. I don't know. I mean, with the success it's had, I could see a trilogy, I guess.
Yeah, Marvel tends to like to do trilogies. The Hulk is the only movie. Incredible Hulk is the only one that didn't get a sequel. And out of all the others that did get a sequel, they've all so far have been trilogies. So I can't imagine it won't go the same way.
It's certainly been successful enough to warrant one if it wasn't already in the plans. Before we hop off of this, I saw you tweeted some picture of little girls wearing Dora Milaje-esque garb. So how do you think this type of imagery, I guess, helps little black girls like that? Because that's one of the things people were harping on, even going before we headed into this movie. They were like, we're going to have some strong role models for black girls. How do you feel about that notion?
I think the way they did the major female characters was great because, again, go to Shuri. She's showing that it's cool to be a black female nerd who's very intelligent, into technology. You don't have to be this stereotypical image of a black woman, and you can be that type of black woman. You don't have to be a demure, meek woman. You can be a Nakoya. You can be a very independent, very thoughtful, very opinionated woman like Nakia. I think the representation of women was fantastic. And I hope that we see, like you said, have a bunch of little black female nerds become computer science majors like you and things like that. You know what I mean?
I wasn't a nerd. I was cool.
Whatever, you geek. Damn geek.
You mentioned that she made it, okay, Shuri to be like a black nerd girl. I think one thing I like about the character is the swagger she had, even though she was a nerd, because, you have stereotypes about black girls, but you also have stereotypes about nerds, where you have like these weird, extremely antisocial images of them. And maybe I'm not one to talk about that sociable, but, not all of us are like, whatever you think the stereotype is, these people are just.
No, like, I know what you're saying. Like the whole, like, you're socially awkward, falling over your feet, pushing your glasses up, just like shying away from human contact. No, Suri was like very, very personable, engaging. She was confident.
Yeah, very vibrant. I mean, I like that aspect of it too, which I'm sure most people aren't going to touch on. They aren't going to touch on the fact that she was a black nerd, but I felt like that was good for nerds in general too, because I get the sense sometimes when I'm walking around, people don't necessarily think I'm into comics and video games and anime and all this shit that I'm into. And I can almost guarantee it's just because of the way that I dress. But again, we don't all dress the exact same way.
There's not this, there's no set rules like there were anymore of what defines a nerd,
I like that because I mentioned earlier, sometimes we have black nerds in media and it's not done right. What I mean is they just take a black person and then dress them up in that stereotypical way. And then they just, exactly, they're like that. And it's like, I'm glad that you're trying to mix some race in here, but you're just kind of perpetuating this stereotype of what a nerd is, just painting it chocolate, I guess. Like,
yeah.
So I think she was a better attempt at that sort of thing than a lot of other characters have been.
Oh, on a quick aside, who's smarter, Tony Stark or Shuri?
I don't think Shuri is like when you look at the ranking of smartest people in the Marvel Universe, I don't think she's on the list.
Should she be?
Maybe she should. Maybe she doesn't get put on the list because she's not like an active hero. Maybe those lists I see are normally just heroes. I don't know. Because normally on those lists you see like Reed Richards, T'Challa.
I mean, her recreation of the suit was bad, fucking ass. I love it.
Within the MCU, she might be smarter because, if only because she grew up in a place where the technology was far more advanced. Because I don't know if people, maybe I'm the one that cared about this, but I was kind of like in awe of just the ideas they sprouted up in the movie, just the way it was presented. Like, what was that fucking thing, that like 3D thing where like he lifted up the car in the beginning? Like it let them see the scenery and shit. Like I've seen,
like they had the sand. It was kind of like a sand table.
Yeah,
but it was like more. It was like so advanced because it's like you've never seen anything like that.
Maybe just their communicators, like just shit that they were taking for granted as being normal is still at least a little science fiction for us, largely.
Yeah, it is. It is, and that's like the world they live in.
So I don't know. I think it's an interesting question. She might be smarter. I don't think we saw enough.
I cannot wait for the interaction between her and Tony Stark. Like,
that's definitely something I hope we get.
That would be fucking cool because he's and Dr. Banner as well. Like that conversation between the three is gonna be fucking awesome.
It would alleviate some of my desire to see Riri come up. I kind of want to see some of the new generation come up in the movies, but maybe it's still too soon. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you'll get them eventually if they're going to continue the MCU because these people aren't going to continue to play these roles. And like the Riri, by the way, what's her full name for real?
Riri Williams?
Yeah, what's her first name? Her full first name?
It's Riri. I think it's Riri.
No, it's not Riri. It's a nickname. I know she has a like full name.
I have never seen her.
I need to find it because I need to call her that because I get tired of calling her Riri because fuck
her
Riri.
Name is Riri. I'm telling you, I've never seen her referred to as anything else but that. Like,
I swear to God, that's not her fucking.
Because I've been reading since she popped up.
Me projecting. I really feel like that's now me projecting because I don't want it to be just Riri. Come on, for the love of
the full time I've seen her in this Invincible Iron Man run, I've never seen anybody call her.
And I'm looking at everything, you know, Ironheart. It's just Riri. God damn it! Stop.
Sorry. I don't mind the name, but what does it sound like? Too much of an attempt at a black name.
No, I just don't like their name. Riri.
Well, just call her Ironheart, then it's cool.
Yeah,
because I actually like the name Ironheart. Like,
yeah, I do too. I like it better than just calling her the next Iron Man or Iron Woman.
For a while, I don't think we knew what her name was going to be, and it came out, and I was like, "That's kind of bad."
Yeah, it is.
I dig it. I was definitely afraid it was going to be Iron Girl or some shit like that. Ironheart, I like that shit. But as far as this, positive images for black people or kids, I guess. People, whatever. I can't say I didn't walk out of Iron Man feeling like T'Challa or Black Panther feeling like T'Challa and shit. Whatever. It's uplifting, I guess. I do want to bring up the point though. I feel like some people get a little too carried away with the idea of positive imagery in media. So you should have positive images of black people. It is nice when you see somebody who looks like you be awesome. It's inspiring. But you can also be inspired by people who are not looking like you.
Yeah.
And I feel like people don't care to acknowledge that. Like a lot of us, maybe we looked up like Peter Parker when we were younger. He's a white guy. There's nothing wrong with having heroes that are not like you. In my case, I could have like a white person I look up to or like a woman that I look up to. I don't feel like you should. How should I put this? You should have representation, but you shouldn't isolate yourself into only caring about characters that are just like you. Because again, it just goes into that same isolation problem that I was bringing up with that I was bringing up a little earlier. I feel like some people are too intent on seeing somebody exactly like them and don't care about any other characters. Because when I look at a lot of these women, I feel like it's not just black girls who should be inspired by that. It's girls in general, because we're strong female characters. It's men can be inspired by that too. I don't think it would be crazy to see white people get inspired by some of these characters. In fact, I was on Twitter and some white lady, brought that up. Like, she was really excited about the role women had in this movie. I would love to see more of that. More everybody being inspired by every type of character. So I get inspired by characters. It's not just like black male characters that I get inspired by. It's the whole gambit.
Yeah.
It's just that now black people are being more added to that gambit, which is cool, but I don't know. I feel like I'm pooping on the idea that we have positive black images, which is not what I'm trying to do.
It's because you're a hater. That's just your nature. That's fine. That's fine. You hate black people. Cardiac symbol hates black people.
Well, I'm not black. I'm chocolate, so I can do that. But I know. I think these guys, all of these characters, except Killmonger, sorry, most of them were positive images for everybody to aspire to. Maybe Killmonger a little bit because he was kind of badass. I'm sorry. I shouldn't play up the villain, but he was badass. I liked his hair shit.
If you want to be a sanctioned mass murderer with the intelligence to destroy continents, there you go. There's your inspiration right there.
Yes. But I will stop on that point. I think those characters are, or could be, inspiring for everybody. That's all I'm getting at.
I see that point. I mean, I'm still leaning more towards like I'm happy to see this only because I want to hopefully get the idea of I hope this sparks less want to be a Killmonger and more want to be a Nakia or T'Challa. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I do think it was good to present Killmonger, even if only it's a bad image, so that, because sometimes you get so used to thinking a certain way that you don't realize how crazy it is until it's presented to you, like in front of you instead of being part of you. It's to see it, to take a step back and see it in somebody else will help you see that maybe it's not what you want to be.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, that's a good way in which he will inspire people. If not, then I'm sorry for you.
10 years later, we're gonna have a bunch of we're gonna have a new Black Panther movement, like an even more extreme version, and it's gonna be because of Killmonger. So
basically,
it's gonna be great shit. But yeah, I part of my heart did kind of glow a little bit when I saw that image you posted up. I'm definitely not dismissing the positive effect of having nice black role models for black kids. It's important. And it was cute. But although, if those little girls were really committed, they would have shaved their heads, though. They need to step their game up. I'm just saying, they weren't really committed, were they? I'm just saying. These little girls are supposed to protect the kingdom, and they can't even shave their heads, though? Come on, bro. What's up with that?
Hey, yeah. Maybe the parents didn't want to like spring for the haircut. They were like, we already bought these goddamn outfits. That's as far as we're going.
We're not going to feed into this fad that much. You need to chill.
Exactly. Tone it down a bit. All right. Well, I guess that's going to do it for this episode. So, again, thank you to everybody who's watching and soon to those who'll be listening, because the page is being worked on now on Podbean. I have finals this week, so I can't really do anything. But definitely expect to see the page blossom and grow and then you'll be able to get your podcast through audio as well. So, and thank you to you, sir, for another great engaging discussion. Appreciate you spending your entire Tuesday evenings with me, just rambling on about stuff that angers us for the most part. Although this, thankfully, the Black Panther gave us actually a podcast where the majority of it wasn't us complaining and screaming at the top of our lungs about how fucked up shit is. So
that was fairly positive and insightful without too much orange showing up there.
Just prepare for the dumpster fires next week, people. That's all I have to say.
That's really fucked up that you said that. Because you don't even know what they are, but you know there's going to be something.
Oh, I smell the like goddamn like rotting garbage like preparing itself to be lit right now. Anyway, that's it for the Reason Reborn. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Say farewell to the people, my soon-to-be PS4 brethren.
Wakanda forever.
Definitely Wakanda forever. And we'll see you next time. Peace.